Most people are approaching health the wrong way, right? They're starting with the end in mind, but failing to recognize what things need to happen before I'm able to achieve this outcome. Today, I want to walk you through this kind of 6 level cascade that I've identified, and it's what I teach the hundreds of practitioners that have come through our program in helping them actually create the environment that allows someone to make the changes that they're looking for. So, I'm going to kind of walk you through this 6 level cascade, and I'm going to do so with the outcome in mind. So, most often, right, people are coming to us with an outcome in mind. They want something. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to lose weight. I want to get out of pain, right? So they have the outcome in mind, right? This outcome is typically tied to an identity, right? I want to be healthy. Well, I need to become a healthy person, right? I want to exercise more. I need to become the type of person who exercises more. So the outcome is always tied to an identity. Now, this is where it starts to get fun. To achieve this kind of identity, right? This comes from, well, what forms an identity is really the actions that we take on a consistent basis. Okay. If I'm becoming a healthy person, well, the actions I take need to reflect being a healthy person, right? These are the things that we do that build our own identity. It's consistent, repeated actions taken over time that embody, right, this idea of who I am and what I do. Now, again, what precedes actions, right? Before people do things, they need to think about doing those things. I should exercise. I should go to sleep early tonight, right? These are happening in our mind, right? So, what informs actions, what precedes actions is often our narrative, our story, right? The things that we're kind of thinking about and talking about to ourselves. Where do thoughts come from, right? Thoughts are built upon the emotional state that we're in. And this is a really important concept to understand. I want to kind of sit here for a minute, right? The emotional state that we're in acts kind of like a filter, right? And so it then gives us what available thoughts, right? What am I thinking about? Simple example, right? If I'm feeling a lot of fear, right? If I'm in this emotional state of fear, I'm unlikely to be having these really optimistic and joyful thoughts, right? The thinking is reflecting the feeling, right? So the state that I'm in, the way that I'm feeling informs the types of thoughts that I have, the things I'm thinking about, the narrative or the story that I'm telling. And this is where a lot of kind of like coaching and work kind of stops. What allows emotional state, right, is the state of the nervous system. And so again, a little bit like our emotions become the filter to what thoughts are available, right? My nervous system or the state that I'm in becomes the filter or the determinant, right, of what emotions do I have available to me. Again, let's kind of like break this down. If my nervous system is perceiving threat, right? I'm in a threatening environment, that is not going to give me access to these positive, renewing emotional states: bliss, gratitude, awe, joy, wonder, right? I'm trying to survive. Awe and wonder and gratitude, great, but they do not matter in terms of survival. So the state that I'm in determines the emotions that I have access to. Hugely important to understand, right? People stuck in a certain state of their nervous system, and people are saying, hey, just try and be happy, just think happy thoughts, just they don't have access to that emotional spectrum because their nervous system is in a state of survival, right? It is limiting what we have access to based on the information that it's receiving. And that's where we go one layer deeper. What determines our nervous system state, right, is our breath and our body or our posture. So when we kind of, I think it's kind of impossible to separate posture and breath, right? These are two sides of the same coin. Change the shape of your body, breath adapts to that, right? And so I put breath and posture together, but what is it that my nervous system is listening to interpret the world, right? Is it scary out there? Is it threatening? Do I need to be in a state of fight or flight? Right? It is listening to my breath and my body, right? The tension I'm holding, the position I'm in, right? The posture that I'm holding and navigating through the world, how I'm breathing, fast, slow, deep, shallow, erratic, smooth, right? So that information comes together and informs my nervous system. My nervous system determines the appropriate state for me to be in based on that information. Now, due to the state that I'm in, That then decides or determines what emotions do I have access to, right? So again, really important to understand this piece. People often don't have access to these positive, renewing emotional states because they are still in a state of survival. Their nervous system is still perceiving threat, right? So it is not giving me access to that part of the spectrum, right, in terms of emotions. The emotions that I'm feeling, right, what I'm feeling informs how I'm thinking. We know, again, feeling really anxious, you're not thinking calm thoughts. You're catastrophizing and ruminating and thinking of worst case scenario, right? The emotional state that you're in is driving the quality of your thoughts, the quality of the narrative in your head. And the narrative in the head determines the actions I take, right? Right? I'm thinking I'm no good. What's the point? Well, I'm probably not going to try. I'm probably not going to take the action. I always screw up. What the thought, the narrative will determine. So what's the point? I'm not going to bother. I don't take action, right? But it's the actions that we consistently take that eventually change our identity, right? I become the person, right, who is healthy, is happy, is confident, is out of pain, right? And that is the outcome that everyone's looking for. And so it's really, really interesting to consider this direction, right? People come to us with an outcome in mind. This is the problem that they're trying to solve. But if you want a different outcome, right, you have to take different actions. If you want to take different actions, you have to think and feel differently, right? You want to think and feel differently. You have to modulate or adjust the state that you're in, right? The nervous system, whether it's perceiving safety or threat. And to do that, you have to change your breath and you have to change your posture. So, with that in mind, it makes sense to start with the breath, right? To inform someone the role that their breath plays on their nervous system and therefore how they feel, what they think, the actions and behaviors they take, and therefore the identity that they build around themselves. So they want to change something, right? They have to start at the top of this cascade. And this is what we kind of teach, in our practitioner training program as to why we start with the breath, why we start with the mechanics, the physiology, the nervous system, the breathing, right? As it's tying into the nervous system, which then influences the emotions, which then determines the thoughts, which then precedes the actions I take. So starting at the beginning, right, and working our way through each of these steps of the cascade is the fastest way to actually support someone in achieving their health outcomes, whether that is happiness, health, vitality, confidence, right, a change in who they are, what they want to be doing, how they feel. It has to start at the top, which is breath and the body.